So the Grammy winners for all the rap categories have been officially announced, and the one category that everyone was really talking about was Rap Album of the Year, and everybody, not everybody maybe, but most people expected one name to be read out as the winner, and that was Travis Scott for Utopia. And instead, the award shockingly was given to Killer Mike for his album Michael. So in today's video, guys, we're going to be doing a recap of all the winners in the rap categories at the 2024 Grammys and talking about this Travis Scott situation, which has a lot of people sort of flipping out over the results. So, Ant, what was your first reaction when you saw this?
Honestly, it's not that I was surprised. I was just like, it was the perfect moment to give him the award. You know what I'm trying to say? Like, at least for me, it was my album of the year for 2023. We dropped our top 10 albums of the year list. You had it at number 2. I had it at number 1. So therefore, I think that our prediction, even back in November, once the nominations got released, was Travis Scott to take home Rap Album of the Year with Utopia. Then after that, Fagella sends us in a text message into the group chat, and he tells us, well, it went to Killer Mike instead, and it was for Michael. And this is what I want to say about Michael, all right? So I've praised this album on the podcast. I said that it was a fantastic listen. I love the rapping performances. You have Song of the Year contenders on there, incredible production all the way throughout. It was a really stellar album, and I think it deserved the nomination. But in my humble opinion, I do think Travis Scott should have walked away with a Rap Album of the Year award tonight, and it's not the first time that it happens to him. At least it wasn't as bad as the Invasion of Privacy thing. Because if you start getting into that sort of thing, then it's a completely different conversation.
That's what I don't like, is that some people are saying, oh, like this is just like the 2018 Grammys disaster.
No.
It's not even close to that. Like when you look at the actual nominees, you had obviously Utopia, Killer Mike's Michael, Metro Boomin's Heroes and Villains, KD3 by Nas and Hit Boy, Her Loss by Drake and 21. All formidable opponents for this category, but no one really saw it going to anyone else but Travis Scott for Utopia, because obviously it was the biggest blockbuster album of the year. And we're also, I feel like, in a phase within hip-hop right now where not every single mainstream rap album is hitting. And when one does, people are going to go absolutely insane. And Travis Scott, I think production-wise, definitely outdid himself in terms of comparing his soundscape to someone like Killer Mike's, who also had a great soundscape because you had a lot of choir arrangements and organs and a lot of beautiful gospel-infused production, which you don't really see that often today for a rap album. That being said, I think there's a lot of ways to go about this, but ultimately I do feel like Travis Scott was robbed because it was the biggest moment of the year. I think that in terms of the catchiness of the songs, how memorable the tracks are as a whole on Utopia, in terms of giving you a singular experience that you can't get from any other rap album that's ever existed, or maybe, you know, since Yeezus, you could say, because there's a lot of inspiration there. That being said, I do feel like Utopia was deserving, but tell me if you agree. On the flip side, it's best rap album, and Killer Mike's rapping is better. If we're looking just the rapping itself, it's much better than Travis on Utopia.
But there's no denying that. But I think that a rap album, you know, yes, obviously the rapping on it has to be absolutely spectacular. And I think when you look at something like Michael, you're definitely getting some of the best rap album performances of the year, right? Whether it's like Scientists and Engineers, for example. But I think there's a lot more that goes into it than just the rapping performances for a rap album, especially in 2024, if I'm being completely honest.
So what do you think Utopia does better? Like, what made you say, you know what?
Mm-hmm.
You can make that argument that Utopia was robbed of this award?
Well, I think it's no doubt that, you know, Michael had a better, let's say, narrative throughout the album. The writing was a lot more developed, but I prefer the production on Utopia as a whole. I think the highs are higher as long as track listing goes, as far as Utopia goes. I also think once you get into the feature list and the memorable moments from the features, I personally feel like, yes, you do get, let's say, the Andre 3K feature on Scientists and Engineers, which was one of our favorite features of last year. But regardless, I feel like Utopia had a better feature list. I also think that the album is aging a bit better within my rotation. So I guess you could say there's a bit of personal bias within that, where
it's personal bias.
Absolutely, where I do prefer the album as far as a listen goes in my rotation. I also think the cultural moment itself, like what it did for hip hop. If Utopia didn't drop in 2023, the year would have been absolute radio silence. The year would have been fucking dead. And I think that sort of untangible magic that the album has, where yes, you could say that Killer Mike had the better rapping performances. What else besides that? You get what I'm trying to say? Like, you could say that, yeah, obviously it being kind of like a flashback of Killer Mike's life and him going into like his personal experiences, him going back to childhood and, you know, kind of coming up in Atlanta. That was absolutely like the execution on that was absolutely incredible. I just think that Is that the only thing you're looking at, let's say, when nominating a Rap Album of the Year award?
I think you could also make the argument that Killer Mike's Michael has maybe a bit more of a concise track list, but that being said, I'm seeing people saying that there were no misses on Michael, that it was a stellar, flawless track list run from beginning to end, where I disagree. You look at a song like Spaceship Views or even something like Exit 9, and those aren't the strongest cuts. Those cuts don't necessarily fit the mold of the actual album concept or narrative. And that being said, even within the narrative, as great and as personal as the writing is all throughout Michael, there's topics that are repeated at certain times, and there's maybe a bit of fluff that you could have trimmed out of the album. That being said, it was even interesting to see Travis Scott himself react to this result, because he tweeted this emoji where he sort of gave like the skeptical face, which was really interesting. And you could tell that like this was for sure a personal blow to him, right? A lot of people feel like he deserved it back in 2018. And the man right now, for whatever reason, after being so fucking dominant and after being one of the most interesting voices in hip hop for a decade plus, is still with 0 fucking Grammys. Absolutely. Which is really, it shows me that they're not in tune with the culture, that they're not in tune with what's going on musically, where people's ears are. But I do want to say this. We cannot go along the basis of like, well, this album has more streams, it was a bigger moment, it's the better album. Because that's where all validity
they're
is
both
lost.
top 5 album of the year contenders, in my books at least. Like, I'm not mad that Michael won. I don't want to say
Same.
that here. I'm really not mad that it won. I think it's a fantastic album. I still go back and I listen to it. I just think that there was a clear choice there, and it should have been made. But regardless, though, I mean, that kind of happens with the Grammys every single year. They knew what was going to happen. They knew exactly what they were doing with this selection. And I got to salute them, because every single year it's a PR cesspool, right? You get everyone fucking angry, and then after that, people want to come into the next award show and see, oh, well, is someone else going to get snubbed? So that's it. Let me ask you another question, all right? So since Utopia ended up getting snubbed, and you saw Killer Mike won, do you think that there's albums in front of Killer Mike's Michael, besides only Utopia, that should have maybe got it? Instead of that, do you know what I'm trying to say?
I'll be honest, I was rooting for Metro Boomin's Heroes and Villains also, just because it would have been so badass to see a producer win Rap Album of the Year. I don't know if that's ever happened before in the history of the Grammys. So not to say that it's a better album than Michael, I don't believe that it is, but that still would have been really dope to see. Her Loss, I don't think, is in front of Michael. And in terms of King's Disease 3, yes, I do think it's a better album than Michael.
You think
also.
KD3 is a better album?
I think KD3 is the better album.
You see, that's
it's,
one
it's
where
a closer race, though.
That is a
very
close
race.
Absolutely. But I think even for a lot of Travis fans, they were definitely watching for this album to win. But shout out to Killer Mike for winning. You know, we don't want to take away any shine from him.
And he was so happy. Like, honestly, it was a nice moment to see him get on stage and go wild and say, it's the Atlanta sweep. Like, he was going off. Like, he was really enthusiastic about the W's that he was catching. He even changed, I don't know if you saw on Spotify, when you look at the title of Michael, now it says Michael in brackets Rap Album of the Year. So he's definitely gonna, do his parade victory and celebrate the W's that he caught.
Well, it's a big album for him. It's a big solo album for him.
It is, because he had waited so long to put it out, and everything came together really nicely. He had major moments. I think that, it's an album that a lot of people needed to hear, and he fucking delivered for the most part, bro. He really did. Like, even him rapping over like ATL modern trap beats and pulling it off with a lyrical style, that's not something you see often either on something like Down by Law.
Stylistically, it was definitely an album that kind of had an outlier factor in comparison to the rest of the year. So, I mean, listen, am I even that mad? Like, because you said that he got robbed. You said that Travis got robbed. Did he really get robbed?
I do feel like he got robbed because he was due for the. It's sort of like a DiCaprio situation at the Oscars, where it's like The Revenant wasn't his best ever acting performance, but it was time for him to receive the award. That being said, Killer Mike's been a hip-hop legend for decades at this point, and you could also argue that he was due for it.
So that's what I'm saying, is that it's such a tricky situation, because as we said, like, musically, they're not far off as far as albums go. One strives a bit more in production and world building as far as atmosphere goes.
Providing but to me, it's like the Utopia experience was so immersive, and it was so unlike anything that had come out in that time.
I agree with you, but then it's like, what do you value, let's say, from a hip-hop album? Do you value, let's say, the world building
or the rapping? Because the rapping is super important.
Absolutely. You could argue that it's one of the best, it probably is the best rapped album of the year. Let's say for writing-wise, it's definitely there. I would say it's top 2, top 3 at most. You get what I'm trying to say? Like, that's what I'm trying to get.
Where the fuck was the Scaring the Hose nom, though? I'm still mad about that.
That's where you're mad.
Yeah, that's where I'm really mad.
Absolutely. But you think that's going to happen? Absolutely not.
Yeah.
But that's what I'm trying to say, though, is that it's not as bad as people are making it seem. It just would have been super cool to see Travis get the moment, but then again, to see Killer Mike get a Grammy tonight was
Absolutely. But let's talk now about the best rap song category, where you had Doja Cat's Attention, you had Nicki Minaj and Ice Spice somehow for Barbie World, Uzi with Just Wanna Rock, Drake and 21 Savage with Rich Flex, and then Killer Mike with Scientists and Engineers, which of course won. And I think that was easily the best choice out of that category.
Oh, of course, not even a competition. Top
Yeah.
3 song of the year.
Absolutely. I
No
mean,
doubt.
another category where Travis was snubbed. He wasn't even nominated for a single
What would
song.
you take off of Utopia and slot into
What would
it?
I take? I mean, there's a couple songs you could take. You could take Thank God. You could take My Eyes. Like, there's definitely songs
ones
that
in
you
there.
could grab.
But Scientists and Engineers was definitely the right choice on that. And of course, you get 2 spectacular features with Future and Andre 3K. You get an incredible verse from Killer Mike. The production is one of the best beats of the entire year.
It was my rap song of the year.
Yeah.
So
And I had it in my top 3 as well. So
yeah,
I can't be mad at that.
Can't be mad at that one. Then you had Best Melodic Rap Performance. Burna Boy and 21 with Sitting on Top of the World. Doja Cat Attention once again. Drake and 21 with Spin 'Bout You. Lil Durk featuring Cole for All My Life, and SZA's Low. I enjoy relatively all of these songs on here. It ended up going to All My Life by Durk and Cole.
I think it's Lil Durk's actually his first Grammy. Congratulations to him.
Cole's second Grammy. Congrats to him too. He won for a lot. Twice winning for features. He deserves his own solo Grammy also.
Even though I'm not a big fan of the song, it's always nice to see people like pick up their first Grammys and get it.
That's what I wanted to say, is that it's like the melodic aspects of the song are not even the strongest component. It's easily J. Cole's rapping performance on the feature. So interesting win there. I mean, another case of, again, the Grammys just maybe not totally getting it all the way right, but wasn't too mad about that. And then we have also Best Rap Performance with Baby Keem featuring Kendrick for the Hillbillies, Black Thought's Love Letter, Coil Ray's Players, Drake and 21 Savage's Rich Flex, and then finally, of course, Killer Mike featuring Andre 3K, Future, and Aaron Allen Kane for Scientists and Engineers, which rightfully won that category. Killer Mike sweeped. He really did, and you know what? I'm happy for him. It's a W. I think that most of the categories were deserved, even arguably Best Rap Album of the Year ultimately. But what pissed me off the most out of like this entire Grammy situation as it pertained to hip hop was the fact that they keep fucking sidelining it and treating it as if it's this underground niche genre where all the nominees and categories for that genre have to be revealed before the actual airing of the show. What the fuck is that? It's literally the biggest genre in the US.
Yeah, it still has the biggest market share within the
What-
US.
what
but
are
I
we
don't care
doing?
about that. I'm over it, dude.
How don't you care, bro?
It's not that I don't care. Like, obviously, I do care.
No,
but
it's a fucking shame. Like it's literally.
It's not that I don't care.
It's them
just that, like,
communicating.
I expect
we care less about
We've
this
been
genre
singing the same
than we do
song.
about pop and whatever.
Absolutely, but we've been
Bullshit.
singing this. You and I have been singing this song for how many years now? You
But
know what I'm trying to
they-
say?
but-
It's like
but they
beating
can't
and-
correct it.
It's like beating my
They
head
are not
against the-
correcting it.
And, yeah, but who's gonna do what? People don't care. You know, at the end of the day, it's like, okay, we got it. Like, do I need to really watch it on television? I get what you're trying to say. Like, they sidelined it, but for myself, like, fuck it. I got the nominations. I ended up getting the winner, so I'm happy with it. But yeah, I guess that's gonna have to conclude tonight's sort of reaction to the Grammys. I mean, looking at everything that happened, you looked at Utopia, and you were like, well, that's probably gonna be a clear winner tonight. But I guess it didn't happen. It just wasn't in Travis Scott's cards. But hopefully next time, hopefully we come into one of these videos and we're able to celebrate Travis Scott's first ever Grammy. So with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, let me know in the comments section, Killer Mike's Michael or Travis Scott's Utopia? What should have won tonight? And stay updated with everything that we post on this YouTube channel. Hit the notification bell and also subscribe if you're new here. Thank you guys so much for watching this video, and we'll catch you in the next one. Peace.